Today, your success is enormous. You have just stepped into the zone of focus, leadership, and peak performance. I am the motivational supercharger of the 21st century, Kevin T. Robertson, America's leading focus expert. Here to tell you about the nation's capital's newest learning institute. It's called the Even Place. I teach a weekly lesson on focus on leadership and peak performance. I'll see you right here this coming Sunday and every Sunday at the Even Place.
Good men do the things they like to do. Great men do the things they need to do. But champions do the things they hate to do, to grow, to achieve, and to overcome all obstacles in their path. To learn more, visit www.evenplace.com.
Good morning and welcome to the Even Place with Dr. Alvin Augustus Jones of dralvin.com, where we learn, where we begin to love. He's the author of Dr. Alvin's Book of Ponderations, Success is Inevitable, and Royalty Without a Future. All books are available on Amazon.com or Amazon Kindle. To learn more about his global efforts, visit www.dralvin.com or www.evenplace.com. On Facebook at dralvin.com, on YouTube at dralvin.com, on Twitter as Dr. Alvin. You can call him at 301-459-2461. That's 301-459-2461, or write him at alvin@alvin.com. How you doing today, Dr. Jones?
I'm doing real good, sir.
You excited about Super Bowl Sunday?
I'm just excited anytime I'm in your presence, sir. So what is your prediction for the Super Bowl, sir?
After constant analysis and going back over game tape and reviewing the rule books, I think whoever scores the most points is going to win on the Super Bowl.
Since we're going down that road, a Harbaugh will win.
Yes, that's an even more astute observation.
Come back with something else, sir. I mean, as we're going this road, you got to come back with something else.
I think you got me.
So a lot of analysts don't want to say who's going to win, but they do give the scores. What do you see the score being?
Honestly, maybe just because I'm a fan of the way he plays, I would see the Niners winning. I like the way Kaepernick plays, but 2013 probably is the least amount of football I have watched since 1985 or something.
When you're born?
Yeah, I'm older than that.
Okay.
But I do remember sort of being a football fan like the first year that the Redskins won the Super Bowl with Joe Theismann, and I just remember, you couldn't live in the city and
sure.
not, and then I remember Doug Williams, and then I remember right before Doug Williams being really excited about football because I was trying to be like my dad, and my dad was really excited about it, so I was like cramming trying to learn it. And the last couple of years I've been so busy with my world domination plans, I've paid less attention.
I understand.
But I do, like I said, I like the way Kaepernick plays. I actually wrote something earlier this year about how I'm looking forward to my son's asking me, like, wait a minute, Dad, there used to be a time where the quarterbacks couldn't run, and I'm going to have to explain it to him. I was like, yeah, for some reason at some point there were coaches who thought it'd be a good idea to put a slow guy and give him the ball every play on every down. You know what I'm saying? And the way the Niners play, giving it the ball to Kaepernick, the same way the Skins play with RG3 and they use Wilson in Seattle. I'm excited about that style of play, and I think that's going to give the Ravens a bunch of problems.
Okay, so we got a very interesting scenario here. 49ers, Ravens. I'm going to the Ravens not so much because I'm a Ravens fan, but based upon my research, my scholarship, and my looking at the stats. And we did this in a previous
coin flip.
That we feel the Ravens are going to win. And what's interesting, I went back and I didn't realize they won big the time they won the last Super Bowl. I think it was like 34-7. I think that the win is going to be decisive, and I think it's going to be Ravens. Ravens. And I went out on the limb and spoke it about a week ago. So either on Monday or Sunday night, you will hear me dancing in the streets, or you'll hear me hiding somewhere under a stack of rocks.
And you went all the way out there with it too. I saw when we published your blog, you was breaking down how the whole brother relationship's going to work out, and how striving for the affection of the father and all that. You broke it like psychologically down.
Well,
You know what
we did. We broke it down in terms of faith, philosophy, and psychology. In fact, I added to it one of my good friends, Dr. Kevin Lehman, and in Tucson, Arizona, was talking about the fact is that the firstborn will probably win. So John is the firstborn over Jim Harbaugh, and Joe Flacco is firstborn. And so he has this theory about the birth order and how those who are normally the firstborn.
Well, Kaepernick's adopted. Where does that put him?
I don't know. That's a whole nother issue. But when he was running the other day, it dawned on me while he was running. I said he had to be biracial. I found out that he was, because I was just sitting there saying that he was going down. Then when he started Kaepernicking, I'm like, oh my God, And but I just think that when you get to the championship, there is so much talent. And I don't think unquestionably that the 49ers have more talent. So you're based upon talent. I think the 49ers have more talent, without question. I would go with Kaepernick all day long over Fluco, okay. But I think when you come to the championship, it's about the mental game. And I just think there are more touchstones. And even the explosion this week, for example, last night, Saturday night, Chris Carter made a comment concerning Randy Moss. You know that Chris Carter got into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, finally. 6 tries, but he finally got into the Hall of Fame. And what was interesting was he said, I want everyone to know I am one of the best receivers of all time. I'm not Randy Moss, the greatest of all time. Like, ooh.
He said that from the podium?
He said that from the podium.
Wow.
As he was crying, man. He said, this is the happiest day of my life. And he says, I always wanted to be in it. He said, I ain't faking the funk. I wanted to be here. I'm happy to be here, and I'm glad about it, And that was a praise break. I'm still waiting for the...
Boom, 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 boom. My bad, I got to work that out.
You got to work that out.
Yeah.
But, he just wanted to make sure that he says, I'm not the greatest, but I am one of the greatest. But I think they have more talent. I think they have superior talent, but they're more touchstones. I just feel that there are a lot of things going with Randy Moss exploding, the young man making a comment concerning homosexuals. It got a lot of distractions as a result of those kind of things, whereas even the way the two coaches approached the game and approached everything, John and the entire staff, when they were public, had business suits because they wanted focus. This is a business trip. This is not about, any kind of other event. We can see New Orleans, on our own time, which I don't understand why players go in there and want to party. I mean, that just, to me.
You seem like you can party the day after.
Right. And
then you got a Super Bowl ring. So, everywhere you go is a party, the rest of your life. So just work for 2 weeks.
So that kind of led us into what we're going to talk about today, because a part of the whole discussion this week, started with the Super Bowl, was a lot of comments concerning Ray Lewis. And I want to quote something from Anna Burns-Wilker. She said, by the way, of course, if anyone's bored, please go to Ray Lewis Wikipedia page. 6 kids, 4 wives, acquitted for murder, paid a family off. Yay, what a Hall of Fame player, a true role model. What do you think about when people begin to talk about the personal lives of players? Do you think it's out of bounds?
In this particular instance, of course, it was out of bounds. I don't really admire athletes as personal heroes. Personally, George Carlin used to have a whole big bit. This is 7 years ago. He came out, and before he said hello, he said, "F Lance Armstrong." Yeah, he just says it off the breaks. He's like, the steroid use and blah, blah, blah. I'm tired of being told who to admire.
Okay.
And I think, and the same thing happens for all these people. You can appreciate what they do on the field, but you don't have to think about it any further. And then what she did here, that was just sour grapes. Yes, he's a Hall of Famer. His numbers means he's a Hall of Famer. Miss Walker's husband works for a man, Bill Belichick, who was caught cheating at football, who's still going to make it into the Football Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't some off the field indiscretion. He didn't get caught with a woman or something like that. He got caught cheating at his profession, and they've swept it under the rug and are going to let him into the Hall of Fame whenever he retires. So that was definitely sour grapes. You can definitely make some comments about Ray Lewis's off the field life, but then why would we care at this point?
Right.
I think
one more game. He only had one more game.
He's only got one more game, and then I mean he puts the light on himself a little bit, and I think this is sort of what you want to get into. He puts the light on himself a little bit because he's always using spiritual and biblical imagery. He's always quoting like John 3:16 and Philippians 4:13 and stuff like that.
Wow.
In his speeches. But he's always bringing that attention to himself in that way. And so when you start making spiritual references, people start looking at your entire resume, which I guess is fair enough. You're supposed to know a tree by the fruit that it bears. There you go.
Well,
hey, can you do it? But
yes, you will.
but for me, it's just football.
Raise break.
For me, it's just football. So I can really care less about his personal life. Yeah, and I think that's out of bounds to take it there.
Well, today's lesson is going to be, I got a long title for you here. It's almost like a law firm. Ray Lewis, Abraham David, MLK, and Malcolm X. We're going to talk about a public display of faith and private sexual indiscretions. Malcolm X says this: we don't judge a man because of the color of his skin. We don't judge you because you're white. We don't judge you because you're black. We don't judge you because you're brown. We judge you because of what you do and what you practice. That's Malcolm X. Then Dr. Martin Luther King says, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Our theme is great men do great evil. When I use the word great, I want to make sure you understand what we mean, because there's a lot of terms and definitions. When I say great, we're talking about being known by many.
It's not a value judgment.
It's not a value judgment. It's not morality play. You may not feel this person is great, which is fine. We're just saying great in terms of more people know this person than perhaps may know you. It was interesting. My spiritual leader, Dr. Frederick K. Price, would say a lot of times on television, he says, let's be clear about something. I am not watching you. You're watching me.
Make sure we understand the dynamics of this relationship.
Right, and who's in charge and who's the authority. But mild-mannered, quiet man, extraordinary man. Hopefully one day you get a chance to meet him. And I had a wonderful chance to spend a lot of quality time with him and his extraordinary family. Then when I use the word evil, because the theme is great men do great evil, I mean evil not doing the usual. Not doing what it perhaps is standard. And for example, we talk about the fact that a lot of the people that we're going to be talking about today in terms of athletes, there's always been baby mama drama, and that's something that's common among a lot of these individuals. For example, the Jets cornerback, and I just did some football players. I could do basketball, Evander Holyfield, boxing, etc. But let's say, for example, Jets cornerback Antonio Camari, 10 kids, 8 women. NFL Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk, 6 kids, 4 women. Now, Terrell Owens has 4 kids, 4 women, with an annual payment to each child of $240,000. So there's always been a discussion concerning the personal lives of individuals. Now, this is a very famous quote, and I want to get your comment on this one, Bomani. It's from the Right Reverend, and I'm saying that jokingly because he is a joker, comedian, Chris Rock. And by the way, I had a wonderful chance to talk to his wonderful wife in an interview about their nonprofit efforts. Very brilliant woman. Very smart woman. A man is only as faithful as his options. What do you think he's referring to by that?
Well, I remember that clip. Chris Rock's definitely one of my most favorite comedians, and he was just saying, once you get exposure, once the world knows who you are, once you reach the modicum of success, success attracts people. Success attracts other businesses. Success attracts women. If you have a whole bunch of women attracted to you, your options are open, and all of a sudden, being faithful is not the same. Is not the same game that it was pre-success. Which is why a lot of brothers find themselves in a lot of trouble. But I mean, I also think people kind of lie to themselves in the beginning of going into these monogamous relationships. So it's a setup for a lot of people to fail anyway, but especially for people who have this level of exposure. But if I look at these stats by Antonio Cromartie, that's 10 kids, 8 women. That's not not knowing. That's not having too many options. That's not knowing where the liquor store and the corner store is, so you can get some condoms. Like there seems to be some really basic things other than just knowing his option in 2013. You know what I'm saying? It's not. This ain't Genghis Khan. You know what I'm saying? 2,000 years ago, you just go impregnate a whole village by yourself because you know there was no other way to do it. They say that in Mongolia and in Russia, if you take DNA tests, just about everyone is related to Genghis Khan because he impregnated that many people.
Oh, wow.
Like there are whole regions of the world that are related to him. But yeah, it's 2013, so it's not only. I mean, you can make a morality judgment if you want whether or not it's good to have that many partners, but when it's good, if it's good to have that many partners unprotected, I can give you an answer on that. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make sense in 2013.
Okay. But I think also it's interesting, you know, our hero that we quote quite a bit, wisdom is the principal thing in all you're getting, get understanding. Who was that great king and preacher? Who said that?
Solomon.
How many women did Solomon have?
More than me. Couple hundred, right?
1,000.
1,000.
1,000. And so I find it very interesting.
Hold on, that's every day for 3.5 years almost.
Yeah. And, you know, do I know your name, you know? And then think about the fact is that, you know, we're talking about the concept of a man with options. That is an extraordinary amount of options. And just imagine those are the ones he designated as wives and concubines.
Right.
Just imagine the others that he had options on that he didn't explore.
Right.
You know, and then there was only one woman in particular that we remember her name. And
I wonder how many men he had killed to acquire those 1,000.
I doubt it. You know, I doubt it. I doubt it. I really seriously doubt it with him. Now, his father had a different situation. We're going to learn about David. He would do that. But then again, maybe, you know, the fruit don't fall too far from the tree.
Yeah, I think that's kind of standard practice. You hoard that many women. It's not the ratio can't be that off in your nation.
Yeah. Well, it was a practice, though, when, you know, let's say, for example, when you were coming through my town, opposed to paying a toll of cash, you had to pay a toll of your women.
Right.
So,
There's a way you could have rhymed that I'm glad you didn't. But I'm sorry. This just got a rhyme. Sorry. Go ahead.
No problem, sir. We can talk about during the intermission there in the break there. But we're going to, you know, next after we do this lesson here, we are going to talk about, I'm going to do a series on men and women who are in the public eye. And there's a lot of discussion, you know, concerning, let's say, for example, Will Smith and Jada, their life. A lot of discussion concerning Bill and Hillary, their life. And what do couples do that are in public and their particular standard, because a lot of people, you know, want to be involved with someone who's public, and what are the rules for a public person? And there needs to be some kind of discussion about those kinds of things.
I think, you know, the two people you just brought up, which are different than the people that you gave on the list, Ray Lewis, Abraham, David, MLK, Malcolm X. We could also put George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. There's a whole bunch of people we can put on here.
Sure.
But I think that when you talk about the Clintons and when you talk about the Smiths, I think the real question, and this is something we might never know because it's honestly none of our business, we don't know what their agreement is between each other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I completely believe that between Bill and Hillary and between Will and Jada, there's some kind of agreement on what, you know, their sexual behavior, what their relationship behavior is between them and between other people. And if anything, Bill Clinton might have violated it by just getting caught up so much. But at this stage, you kind of know that Hillary and Bill had to have had a conversation. She was like, "Look, dude, just don't get me caught out there. I know, you know what I'm saying? I want to be president."
Sure.
And definitely the same with Will and Jada. So I think it becomes a conversation of when you're in a relationship with someone, what is the promises you've made to them and they've made to you, and can you keep those promises that you've made?
You know, that's a powerful concept there. I think what needs to be broken down is that I think what is the agreement that a couple has? And I think the couple has to have two sets of agreements. One is, what is our agreement? A, and then B, what happens when there's a violation of the agreement? C is, can we cure if something goes wrong? And that's like what a normal contract is, because a marriage is a contract. There's laws concerning consideration. There's laws concerning what happens when it's violated. You know, for example, when you see a contract at the end of it says, if me and you have a dispute, we're going to settle it in my state because I instituted this contract.
Going to get an arbitrator or something.
Arbitrator or mediator between us to do it. And then also, if I default on my mortgage payment, I have 90 days to heal it or to cure it, to bring it back into full effect and force. So I think couples have to have what goes on, and they do need to have a discussion, I believe, and we'll get this into the next lesson, is if there's infidelity of some form. We're not just necessarily talking about a physical or sexual. It could be infidelity with the money. It could be infidelity with your time, your attention. Infidelity isn't just not being faithful over something or reliable or whatever. I want to have a TV show one day, and I think I've already got the domain names. Or at least I'm going to mention one I do have. Well, I'm going to mention both of them. One is called Marriage Refund, and the other one's called Dating Refund. Okay? I just think there needs to be some kind of, in business, I mean, if you are paying for something, you don't get the product, good, or services, you can get compensated for it. Right. And so we got those domain names, because eventually one day, Stefan, we're going to have a TV show. That's our extraordinary cameraman, on that subject,
The coolest quote, I don't know cool is the word, but the most interesting quote recently I've seen about, with the agreement that people have between each other in a marriage and what that means afterwards is when Lawrence Taylor got caught up in, we're talking about athletes. When Lawrence Taylor got caught up in that teen prostitute scandal, and they brought out his wife, and she was doing interviews, and she was like, there's no proof. She was on some ride or die stuff, right? And then they were like, and she was like, and even if he did, just because he broke his vows doesn't mean I can break mine.
Right. I thought it was the most powerful statement.
That was a ridiculously powerful statement. Just understanding the power of a promise, and you know what I'm saying. So I don't even know if I agreed with her, but that was some ride or die stuff. There.
I think she was saying is that his violation doesn't mean I'm going to violate.
No doubt.
And a lot of times, there's a song by the Right Reverend R. Kelly.
Oh, no.
If you hear the lyrics, I feel like being single. And if you see the video, feeling single, it's all about the fact is he doing the same thing because she is? And he's saying, you make me feeling single. By the way, it's amazing how R&B songs, soul songs, they can be talking about some of the saddest things, but it's a good beat,
Right.
I feel like you're making me feel single.
And then when you sit down and actually say the words one day, you're like, that's some depressing stuff. Why do I want to just sip tea and look out the window now?
But let's look at the title that we have here. We're talking about Ray Lewis, Abraham David, MLK, and Malcolm X, public display of faith in private sexual indiscretions. And in our production meeting, you were asking me questions of why did I choose the ones that I chose there. And in our production meeting, which I'm going to bring now, I said that these are people of faith. Abraham was the father. Let's get this background of these people. Ray Lewis, he's a future NFL Hall of Famer, 6 children by 4 women. Abraham, the father of Judeo-Christian and Islamic faiths. And you can look this up. And when we reference the Bible in this context, we're using the Bible as a textbook and also a historical book. He deceived the king Abimelech about his wife Sarah. When they were coming through town, the king asked him, hey, is that your wife? He said, no, that's my sister. And so he said, Sarah, you come with me. He was getting ready to have sex with Sarah that night. God gave him a dream like, no way, you're not going to mess with Sarah. So one thing I want people to understand, which we'll get into a little bit later on, even if someone puts you in a compromising situation, the universe will still take care of you. Sarah was just doing what she had to do to survive. But God looked out for her and had favor with her. Then we look at Sarah and Hagar, 2 women. One created the Judeo-Christian Sarah. Hagar created the Islamic faith. King David, shepherd and psalmist, in 2 Samuel, the 11th chapter, he was supposed to be at war that day. He's on the roof, up on the roof. I don't know if you're not sure of that.
No.
I know one of your favorite songs is Fiddler on the Roof.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was a rich man. That's maybe.
Okay. He not only committed adultery, but he was a little cutthroat. He did a little murder there.
Right.
Murder, she wrote.
Right.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a preacher and civil rights activist. There's a very interesting book, and I don't know why he necessarily wanted to bring it out, but our good professor, Michael Eric Dyson, has a book, I May Not Get There With You, The True Martin Luther King Jr. He talked about his infidelity. Malcolm X, orator and teacher, he was quoted and talked about his infidelity in 2 books that I want to mention as references.
Not infidelities. the things referenced about him were well, no, there is one infidelity reference, but most of the things, I think what we have in the notes is about
same-sex relationship.
Same-sex relationship.
Right. Or it could be infidelity in terms of, him saying one thing or projecting one thing and living another.
Well, even if what's being speculated about his same-sex relationships is true, they are before his commitment to Islam.
Right.
Even if they are true. So I don't know if that was him breaking a particular promise. But yeah.
Okay, and again, I'm using faith in a broad term in terms of, if same sex is who you are, then project it, be it, stand on that, opposed to, and he couldn't back in those days anyway because that was not quite as acceptable as today.
But even in the speculation that's about his life, it's prison Malcolm X.
Right, or when he was Malcolm Little?
When he was Malcolm Little, yeah.
Right,
or Detroit Red.
Okay. Now, and then also this discussion of why the autobiography that's used by Spike Lee or whatever, this kind of issue was not discussed.
Right.
And it was kind of, quote unquote, according to the book, Making Malcolm, the Myth and Meaning of Malcolm by Michael Eric Dyson, whether or not it was sanitized.
Oh, it was definitely sanitized.
Okay.
Matter of fact, it was sanitized and bastardized. But you're gonna get me going on Malcolm X if we keep going down that.
Well, okay. And I thought it was interesting. There was another book that recently came out. I didn't get a chance to talk to him. Unfortunately, he died right when the book came out. Interesting circumstance. That's a whole other story for there. Malcolm X, A Life of Reinvention by Manny Marable.
Manny Marable, yeah.
And so there are books like that on the subject here. And so Malcolm X, about his same-sex relationships. And all we're bringing up is that there is a public display of faith. All these people are considered people of faith. Ray Lewis, Abraham, King David, Dr. Martin Luther King. David's called the man after God's own heart. Martin Luther King, is known for his great speeches and great orator and great preacher. And even there's alleged concerning some plagiarism, partial plagiarism concerning some of his writings, or even there was a notion that he got motivated with I Had a Dream speech by Mahalia Jackson yelling out about dream, and then all of a sudden he took that line and then improvised and ended up doing.
You talking about that day?
Yeah.
But I think people have told. I've read places that he has done versions of that I Have a Dream speech other places.
I
least
don't
like three, like you know how preachers do.
Sure.
You have like an outline.
Won't he do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Can he do it? Yes.
And then sometimes you don't even realize you're about to get into a pattern that you've already done before.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I could completely see that happening for him.
Well, and then also there's a thing called technology transfer.
Okay.
Which means that, you may have it one way and then I rewrite it. I may rephrase it.
Remix.
There you go. And
all ideas, especially all art, but all ideas in general are just response to other ideas.
Right.
And so you're going to end up mixing something else in there, but it still sparks something original in you.
A lot of people, say it different ways. I remember one time I was having discussions I was talking to the Lord about me and my radio stations, and he said, well, I didn't tell you about radio stations. I told you to tune in to me. And a lot of people, some people have a problem with
God's got to stop whispering. That way we won't, get these messages mixed up. We got communication issues. We sending smoke signals and Morse code.
Yeah, well,
I'm like, English.
He's not a yeller or a screamer, Well, that's why I'm staying over here in this corner, because let's go on to some of these points, because you're about ready to get someone in trouble, sir. The first point that we mentioned earlier was concerning the fact that there's always been discourse about men of faith and their sexuality. That's not new. Point number one. Many of them have been corrected or convicted for their actions. For example, when King David was confronted about his improprieties by Jonathan, King Abimelech confronted Abraham. The court of law confronted Ray Lewis. The court of opinion is confronting Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. So, it's not like, there's not some system of checks and balances questioning them. Now, you smile when I say that. With us,
No, I'm listening. You're right. They've all had their sex lives examined under the eye of both social norms and also how it relates to what they've claimed to be some spiritual connection that they have.
Right.
And that's a hard lens to live under.
True. Yeah. And unfortunately, with MLK and Malcolm X, they don't have a chance to go on the witness stand and defend themselves.
Right.
And this was done afterwards. Also, there is a notion, and as I was talking to my therapist the other day, and she was talking about the fact that all of us like to have a wonderful image of our parents. There is that notion that we like to be able to have a wonderful impression and a wonderful image of our leaders. And so, it's all right that we want to think of Dr. Martin Luther King in a very good light, or Malcolm X in a very good light. We can't ignore their indiscretions, whatever they may or may not be, but most cases we want to have that image of them. I mean, there was a major discourse recently concerning Cornel West and our beloved President Barack Obama, concerning whether or not he should put his hand on the Bible or not, that was owned by Dr. Martin Luther King, and those kind of things. So, we have a fondness for our leaders, and I think that's really important. Now, in St. Matthew, the first chapter, verse number 6, and this is point number 3, those wronged by the actions of these men of faith will be remembered. And Jesse begat David, and David the king begat Solomon, of her that begat the wife of Uriah. Uriah was a guy that was bumped off Bathsheba's husband, but the Bible remembers Uriah. So we want to let people know, if you've been harmed by one of these men of faith, and men of faith have done some things that have been considered illegal, immoral, unethical, and even fattening. I mean, Moses. I
like how you put that last. Murder, rape, pillage.
Say the fattening part.
Yeah, murder, rape, pillage, donuts.
Calories. And it's a situation where they have wronged people, and they have harmed people. And Moses, the lawgiver, is a murderer, or he killed someone. There's been debate whether or not his murder was justified per se, but he shed innocent blood. And so there has to be a discussion when your man of faith is a murderer, is a liar, a thief, a crook, or whatever evil word you want to have, can this person still be considered a man of faith? And that's a part of our discussion today. And what do you think, sir?
It's interesting because I'm actually surprised. I don't know how we got to the point, biblically speaking, because I know also earlier in biblical times, having multiple women, having multiple wives. I mean, even David would have been in violation of the whole having multiple wives rule, because he killed someone to have a wife. But I mean, Abraham and David's indiscretion in the Bible seem more of a direct affront on someone else than like the more modern versions that we have, because Abraham completely denied his wife and was basically going to sacrifice her to this guy.
Right, true. And his son did the same thing, Isaac.
Yeah. You can try to judge people, but you say they're a product of their time. But then I guess at this point, you just be like, their whole time was jacked up. Like it didn't pay to live at that time. Sure. But I don't think having problems with fidelity and issues and staying faithful to a woman, and having a woman's life and reality revolve around you as a man is very, very biblical. Right. And so getting out of that in those stages is probably got to be hard at some point. Right. You know what I'm saying?
And then, in our effort for research, I would like for someone, if you have a definitive idea, I do know the Bible says in the New Testament concerning one man, one woman, but I'm trying to find when there was a law that said you can no longer be like Solomon. Granddad, why can't I have 1,000 women? Well, Granddad hit 1,000 women, And so when was there an edict that said specifically at this point in time it changed to the one woman? I mean, we do know that it is, but we don't see where like all of a sudden there was an epiphany, there was a paradigm shift.
It seems to me to be a very strict translation, because when people quoted that stuff to me, they quote the verse where they say a woman should leave her family and cleave to her husband. Right. But it doesn't say anything about just that woman and just her husband. Right. And yeah, you're right. To me, it seems like maybe like the earliest onset to, maybe for lack of a better word to use, feminism, being able to, women finally being able to be like, look, you're not going to be able to just step out on me all over the place without me having some kind of say in it, which is basically biblical history up to a certain point in the Bible, the majority of it. And so striking that kind of balance where man can't just do whatever he wants, I mean, it seems like progress, but yeah, where exactly does it happen?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where that divide was.
Right.
And, because also we revere and no one would ever question David. So so the guy who did have 1,000 women, no one say he's going to hell. Nor, or the guy who has one woman and one woman, he's going to hell. I mean, but there's, and so again, I just like to find the point. And usually there is a point in time where it says, like, all of a sudden this day thou shalt not do this any longer, and thus going forward it should be X, Y, Z. And I don't know where that mark in the sand is. And I would like for someone to, not based upon something they heard or my interpretation, but I would like to be able to have it. And even if it doesn't, the Bible quotes other books. So I have no problem if someone said, all of a sudden at this point in time, we felt this was the best way. Right now there's this concept of sustainability, doing things that's going to sustain us over a period of time with the environment. Right. When does someone say, I think it's better for us to try to do this, and it will work out a little bit better. Right. And I would really like someone to, in a I got a dog in a hunt perspective, bring it to us.
Nah, yeah, people, relationship rules change all the time once you're in relationships. Ask the King of England and the Church of England. Once you're ready to get a divorce or something, then you're ready to change all the laws in the books. Yeah. You looking at me, you know what I'm talking about? But yeah, I mean, there are historical examples all over the place that once you're ready to do something different, all of a sudden God speaks to you. And God told me that we don't have to listen to the Catholic Church anymore because God told me that my divorce is sanctioned. And so, you know what I'm saying? And that happens all the time, which is why God's got to work on his communication skills so we can all hear the same message at once.
That's a powerful discussion, and perhaps what we can do is begin to look at those kinds of things, because I also look at people like King James, who put together this book here, which is called the Authorized King James Version of the Bible. And when you look at the lifestyle of a King James, he was not the person that you would consider the kind of person and the kind of man that would put that together. But because of his background, God is used in the Bible, asses, and he's used birds, and he's used fish to pay bills. So, I mean, it's amazing. Now, there's this concept also that St. Paul goes over. He says he used the base things of the world to confound the wise. Sometimes people who are not necessarily, quote unquote, as smart, as bright, as whatever, tend to be sometimes the best leaders. And there's a whole school of thought concerning the fact that perhaps some of these men here, maybe the reason why they were chosen because they were not the fastest, the swift, the brightest, but they were more obedient to the call to get things done, to get her done. Like the cable guy. You're probably not familiar with that, but one day.
I know that one.
Just Google that one there. Okay, so let's go over the points here again. We're talking about Ray Lewis, Abraham David, MLK, and Malcolm X, public display of faith and private sexual indiscretions. And number one, we say discourse about men of faith and their sexuality is not new. Number two, they were corrected and convicted for their actions. Number three, those who were wrong by their actions will be remembered. Number four, misconduct does not qualify you from divine grace and acceptance. Since they probably will not be forgiven or accepted in this life, they yearn for acceptance by a higher power. Brigham Young, you familiar with that school? BYU?
Brigham Young, yeah.
Okay. I don't care about my character here on earth. I don't care about what other people think or say about me. I care about my standing before the Lord. Which I think is, and he's a man of faith, the Mormonism and their whole belief and faith there. He's saying is, you may or may not, I'm not you per se, a person may or may not accept me here, but there's somebody who will.
No doubt. Brigham Young believed that on the planet Golab, when they get rid of all the black people, he will be able to worship God in his own way. And, everyone is allowed to have their own, and all the women that he married and had children with, thousands of them will meet him there. Right. You're right. I mean, once you start giving faith reasons for stuff, he was able to come up with a bunch of reasons to do a whole bunch of things. Okay. Yeah.
So, are you going to talk about the terrorists who are dying to get together in heaven with those wonderful women?
Something. Actually, my guest on my show, as a matter of fact, tomorrow we're going to be talking about this because people keep saying
this is a commercial announcement.
This is a commercial announcement for the indie, because one of the things the really some of the strict Muslims I know, and I know a lot of Sunni Muslims, I know some Nation of Islam Muslims. They're all they claim that the 72 virgins verse is misquoted, and I would love to tell them exactly how that's misquoted, because both Osama bin Laden and a whole bunch of people and a whole bunch of non-Muslims say that it means a certain thing. But I mean, the same thing happens in the Bible. So I guess I don't know if you can, but yeah, there are a whole bunch of like Muslims tell me all the time there's no compulsion in Islam, and I've read different parts of the Quran that definitely makes me seem that like there's compulsion in Islam. So the contradictions abound all over the place. I mean, I guess I find Brigham Young's hypocrisy, I guess, more than most, just because of specifically how they felt about black people. Like, it was very, like, literally, they just let black people into the church in like 1978. Like, I need them to like wait till after my lifetime before they try to take over some national positions again, because they literally just got cool with black people in my lifetime.
Well, this is the whole point we're trying to bring, is that people of faith have perhaps conflicting messages,
perhaps,
contradictions, hypocrisies. Some things don't seem fair, and so one of the goals, it seems, that runs the thread through all of them, whether it's Christianity, Islam, or his style of faith, whatever. I have to seek a higher power for answers. I have to be connected with this higher power, because I know on here, as you just clearly illustrated, you're not going to accept my thesis. You're not going to accept my faith, so I will be accepted in heaven. So it's always amazing, how every player who have their various different faith, when they score a touchdown or when they score a basket, after they pound their chest, they point to heaven.
No doubt.
And what's amazing is that there was an African American man was one of the first ones who did the kneeling down in the end zone. I think it was a Philadelphia Eagle player. Okay, was the first one who did it. Now T-Bone and everyone else is doing something, and opposed to Kaepernick, who kisses himself. Everyone else is worshiping the Lord there. That's why the Ravens will win. Okay, now let's look at number 5 here. Persons of faith are admonished to let their light shine. So I was listening the other day. I'm not sure which person this is. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's the African American on First Take.
Got you.
He says people are uncomfortable. People are uncomfortable about people sharing their faith. But hello, this is how you play the game. People of faith are told to let their light shine. They're told to be public. There's been this misnomer that they're not supposed to, but that is a part of their tenet. And then number 6 is
they're also told that everyone's going to call them out on their hypocrisies and call them crazy. So they should also just be ready for that as well. That's all part of the same contract.
Which is number 6. To being criticized for sharing your faith publicly is par for the course. I mean, that's what they're going to be criticized, Right. And so, they're supposed to tell their faith. They're supposed to express it in some form, because how is anyone going to know what they believe? And they know that people are going to get offended. And what's amazing to me is the critics. If you're going to criticize someone, be accurate in your criticism. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and also they're going to be criticized. In fact, again, I'm not going to mention his name. He had Lola on Jones.
Yes.
And she
saw that interview.
She was criticized quite a bit because we were together at the same time.
That's what it was. Okay.
Wow. When that interview took place, and he mentioned that to her, Stephen A. Smith, concerning that. And she says, like, and what are you talking about? I mean, I'm supposed to talk about my faith. And there were those who will be accepting of my brand of faith, and those who will not. Just like there will be those who will buy my Ford and those who will buy my Volkswagen or my brand.
Now, Lola's issue, though, was partly was faith-based, but was not of her doing. The problem with Lola was Lola's fine. Lola's a virgin. Lola made it a little bit of a story. The sports world made it an even bigger story. And when she lost, when she didn't win any medals, they went to her teammates who just won medals and was like, so what do you think of Lola not winning a medal? And they were like, I just won. Why don't you ask me how I feel about me winning a medal? Right. And everyone promoted that as them hating on Lola or Lola or whatever her name was. And they were like, and I completely agreed with her teammates who they said were throwing her under the bus. Their teammates were like, y'all came to us asking why y'all were disappointed that your pretty virgin didn't win. Right. When instead of asking me why the lifelong goal I've had since I was 7 and I just won, and you just come up to me and ask me why someone else didn't win. Right. I'm not gonna have a positive response to that. Sure. And so that was America hoping to crown some virginal queen. That didn't happen. And that wasn't Lolo's fault. That wasn't her teammates' fault. That was our obsession with her beauty and her sexuality, and we took it to a whole nother level it didn't need to go to.
And see, that's a whole nother subject right there. Well, you gonna pat yourself on your back?
No, I'm saying soapbox. I got kind of passionate about that one.
I can pat you on the back. So good job there. There is this whole notion that because you have morality, you're gonna have success. And they're two different things. And that's also a part of that whole situation. They were saying is because you don't sleep with nobody, you're supposed to win.
Right.
Just like the notion is that, in particular, this is definitely a rumor with boxers, is that they're definitely not supposed to have sex the night before they fight.
Yeah. Now it's supposed to take that life energy from you.
Yeah. And
I told you about my theory about Obama's first debate this year, right?
Oh, no. That
was on the same day of his 20th or 30th anniversary.
Mm-hmm. So he was not thinking about
either his mind was in the wrong place or he already had done, early morning. It was an anniversary from that morning. You know what I'm saying? And he was spent? He was not completely there when the punches started getting thrown. That was a boxing situation.
Need a cut man.
He needed to tell the show later.
Oh no! But then again, you say he could have been thinking about what was going to happen.
And maybe it was.
And so MIT hit him.
But there is something to that. Something to that. Yeah.
And so there's that whole discussion about that. So number 5, they're admonished to let their light shine. 6, they're going to be criticized for sharing their faith. Now, this is a very, very important song that I recently became acquainted with, and there's that book right there read the title of that book, sir.
The Holy or the Broken by Alan Light. This is the book about the song Hallelujah. Oh, yes. It's called Hallelujah. It's a book about the song Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen and Jeff Buckley. It's called The Holy or the Broken. It's a very clever, wonderful song. I've known it before, but I guess most historically now from the Shrek movies. I think it was in the first Shrek movie. Right. But it's incredibly entertaining and insightful and I guess slightly blasphemous song.
Sure. Well, let's look at some of the words of that song because this kind of discussion we're having here entitled Ray Lewis, Abraham, David, MLK, and Malcolm X, public display of faith and private sexual indiscretions is something that is a part of folklore and also popular culture. It's being debated. I mean, it's not something that anyone has a specific answer on, but there's a debate in the song Hallelujah. And the word hallelujah means please the Lord. I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah. Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof. Her beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to a kitchen chair. She broke your throne. So she had a kitchen chair, common person, and also could be that did something on the kitchen chair or his throne. But it's a metaphor about there were two people in two different positions. Right. Cut your hair. He got him mixed up with Samson. That was.
You can transpose Bible stories all the time.
Right there. From your lips he drew, and then also it's interesting that when a person makes love to a person, a lot of times there is invoking of God. And it's pleasing the Lord. And I don't think it's by chance that one of the most pleasurable things that a person can experience, bar none, naturally, there's an invoking of a contact with God. It's like the meeting of the male and the female, and then all of a sudden, hallelujah, praise break, okay? Then the last verse of this I thought was interesting. There are more verses, but we're running out of time. You say I took the name in vain. I don't even know the name, but if I did, well, really, what's it to you? There's a blaze of light in every word. It doesn't matter which you heard, the holy or the broken. Hallelujah. So there's that, I'm holy. Am I broken? Am I broken? Am I holy? But the goal is to please the Lord and also to please the body. And there's all these different metaphors. And I was surprised that there are over 300 cover songs done with this one song. It's been done by that many persons. And in Britain, there was an Alexander Burke. She had used this song to win the X Factor. And it was one of the most powerful songs in Britain at one particular time. And then there was a debate between her version of it and then Jeff Buckley. And so hers was number one. Then the people say, you know what, we want Jeff Buckley to be with her. They never sold that one, but his became number 2. So the goal of our lesson today was to talk about Ray Lewis, Abraham, David, MLK and Malcolm X. And all we want to try to say is there's always been this kind of conversation as relates to a person's sexuality. And our goal in doing this particular lesson is to let you know that great men can do bad things. And we have to begin to come to grips with this. And then also, we cannot lose our faith as a result of it. This is something that has been happening. A lot of people change churches or they go here and there. At some point in time, you're going to find out what's in the closet of that particular organization. And when it happens, don't lose your faith because of the man of faith or woman of faith in your organization. You going to take us out of here there, young fella?
Yes, thank you very much for joining us here at The Even Place with Dr. Alvin Augustus Jones of dralvin.com, where we begin to love. He is the author of Dr. Alvin's Book of Ponderations, Success is Inevitable and Royalty Without a Future. All these books are available on Amazon.com or Amazon Kindle. To learn more about his global efforts, visit www.dralvin.com or www.evenplace.com. On Facebook at Dr. Alvin, on YouTube at Dr. Alvin, on Twitter at Dr. Alvin Jones. To write him, go to alvin@alvin.com or call 301-459-2461. That's 301-459-2461. You have a great day.